So when I met Alexandra, she was a student a final year student at ESSEC, and she knew that she would complete her BBA in June 2020,
Mm.
and we decided from there that, enfin, she decided that she wanted to further her studies, and we work on it. Okay, and of course she's very ambitious, so she applied only to top school. So Alexandra, can you tell us more about yourself, maybe? Yeah,
Yeah, so hi
short bio.
everyone.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Hmm?
so hi everyone. My name is Alexandra. I'm from Moldova, so I'm not French. And I did my bachelor's degree in France at ESSEC. And I decided to pursue a master in management afterwards because I became very interested in pursuing a career in strategy consulting. And as you might know, the process is very competitive. So I felt like I needed additional skills, but also maybe a better brand on my CV, as a BBA was not enough because France is very specific. So when I was in my last year at ESSEC, I decided to apply to masters in management. As you may know, there are, among the best masters in management, there is St. Gallen, there is ESSEC, there is HEC, there is LBS, and also INSEAD just launched a new MIM program. So INSEAD is not in the rankings yet because it's a very new program, and it's going to appear in the rankings after they gather data about salaries and about basically the post-employment opportunity of the students. So it's going to take time. I got in touch with Hubert in January
No, I
accidentally,
think it was
actually,
in
because
March. It was in March, I believe. We met late.
it was in February because I
Okay,
was
February.
attending the chairs event, and you called me, and as you wrote, literally the connection stopped 3 times. And we discussed on the phone what I wanted to do. And I personally, during my bachelor's degree, had the opportunity to study in the UK, in Singapore, and in France. And I really enjoyed France. So I was not that motivated to actually apply to the UK, but I still did because, never put all your eggs in one basket and always apply for around 4 schools. That's better for you because you'll have time to decide once you gather admission. I initially wanted to go to St. Gallen, but things worked differently because I decided to attend an INSEAD event back in February, at the end of February. And it was basically a live lecture on campus. And I really, really enjoyed the campus, the way teachers teach there. It's very, very practical. It's not theory oriented. And I actually realized this is the program that I want to do because, first of all, it's short compared to the other programs. And second of all, you get the opportunity to study in France, which I like, and in Singapore. And of course, the diploma, the brand of the school is fantastic. So you can leverage the network and ultimately find employment opportunities wherever you want. Of course, you're going to have to work on it and work on developing your network, but I think it's a very fantastic network. Maybe
Yes.
if you, yeah.
Yes, it's true. So basically, you went a bit far, but of course, it's a great thing. So basically, as you know, probably in Europe, you have a sort of League One in terms of MIM. So I have the more or less the ranking that we have launched. So in the MBA Center ranking, by the way, Alexandra, if you could basically mention it, because we have ranked INSEAD number 2 after HEC. And it would be good that at least INSEAD students inform that there's a ranking in which INSEAD is already ranked. So basically, according to me, there will be a League One, okay, in Europe with, I know it's here, so with HEC, LBS, INSEAD, and ESSEC. And ESSEC is technically in the League One. Then there will be a League Two with SEMS, Sciences Po, ESADE, IEC, WHO, Imperial. okay, and an X3 with IE, EM Lyon, etc. So
What about ESCP?
ESCP for me would be in X3 already.
Okay.
It's a weak school already. Anybody can get ESCP. One of the problems that we have with ESCP is that now they no longer recruit through the GMAT except for the Paris campus. So anybody gets in. So all the students that I have who don't have the level will take GSHL test instead of the GMAT and they will get in. By the way, I'm not proud of that, but it's the number one destination of our students. But I'm not very proud, so because of course many of our students are not are good students, but not top students. But they usually, as a backup school, there's always IE and ESCP. So IE and ESCP, by the way, are good schools, in the top 20 in Europe. But let's say that if you have good support, you can get such schools. So basically, and there's of course, and in League One, of course, there's also Saint-Gallen. So in League One, you have Saint-Gallen, HEC, INSEAD, LBS, ESSEC. ESSEC is definitely a school that is that is worth it, but at the same time, Alexandra explained very well, she had already studied there for 4 years, so there was no point for her to study another year at ESSEC. It doesn't make sense, even though see Alexandra has simulation from ESSEC who continue with ESSEC.
Yeah.
It's probably an easy solution. Okay. Well, basically, you mentioned why you have chosen INSEAD. Alors, basically, you have to explain. So, what happened to you after you had been accepted to INSEAD? So, you decided to take a year off to work, to save, to gain experience.
Yeah. I mean, okay. I was exhausted, and the program is super, super, super intense. Like you even work on Saturdays. You don't have days off, and I realized I need to rest because I'm not going to be able to handle this super, super intense year, both in terms of job applications, of courses. I mean, attending the courses, it's gonna need too much energy. So I just deferred for that reason. I was not ready to, let's say, fight for, my job. Basically, I'm preparing interviews and attend all those lectures, practicals, network. I mean, you need to put in a lot of effort. You don't just expect to go to the school and find a job, because it's not like that. The reality is very harsh. It's super competitive. Imagine everyone basically more or less aims for the same jobs. I mean, there is IB, there is tech, there is consulting, but all of the people from your batch are basically competing more or less for the same jobs, maybe in different geographies, but same jobs. So even if you are in a great school, it doesn't mean that you're necessarily going to land, MBB or whatever, Goldman. You really need to put in the effort, because it's more than just, having a brand name on your CV.
Yeah, because what I want to tell you is that it's easier to get INSEAD or HEC than it is to be hired by Goldman Sachs, McKinsey, or Google. Okay, so you have to see that it's not because you have reached this step that the second step will be easy, because then you're going to compete against the same people for the same job, but of course there are fewer jobs available. So there will be some of you will be disappointed who are dreaming of McKinsey, but will work for Deloitte, or people want to work for Google and will finally work for, I don't know, Siemens, or some of you want to work for Goldman Sachs and finally will work for ING Bank, corporate finance. Of course, I'm not saying it's bad, but of course, don't imagine that there will be you reach your goals, or at least immediately. I'm sure that you will reach your goal in the future, but immediately there is still a lot of competition. So basically, so Alexandra, I know that you have a lot of friends. You have George Michel, with George, the guy. George, etc. You are in contact. So how does it work at INSEAD? Can you tell us how the program is structured?
Yeah, so basically it's a super fast program because it lasts for only 10 months, and basically these 10 months are divided into 5 periods. So you have period 0, period 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Period 0, it's basically introductory courses that you do at your own pace in July. So I basically start in one month. You learn to program if you don't know how to program. If you do, there is an advanced course as well. And you also need to validate the third language. I'm not gonna need to validate a third language because I already speak one. So that is gonna be more free time for me, basically, because INSEAD requires you by the time you graduate to have a third language, and I think have an A2 level in that language, I guess. And afterwards you have the periods on campus. So starting from the 16th of August, I'm going to be on campus, and you have 2 courses per period, and then 2 practicals during the same period. So basically it's yeah, I don't know how to say it, alternation between
Alternative, there's alternative.
no, not
There's
alternative. It's basically first you have theory, then you have practice, then you have theory, then you have practice. That's how it works.
Okay. So basically, to tell you the truth, so me, I know INSEAD pretty well. It's funny because, by the way, when the first student that we sent to INSEAD is Vincent Miavec. You know him, Alexandra? Vincent?
No.
The French guy, maybe you, I don't know. And what was funny is that, of course, I know INSEAD pretty well because we started MBA Center in '96. So I was still in America by that time. But during the vacations, I was back in France. And of course, I heard this name a lot. So in '96, I decided to take my car and to go visit the school. I knew it was a good school, but me, I was at Harvard, so I knew about Harvard, I knew about MIT, and I didn't know how to compare MIT, INSEAD with Harvard and MIT. I didn't know how they stood. So of course, compared to Harvard or MIT, INSEAD is a business school. It's not a university. Like I said, the only thing that they have a Center for Continuing Education called CEDEP, that is the money machine of INSEAD in UT. They offer continuing education. And then they had, at that time, when I went there to visit them in '96, the only problem that they had was an MBA. And then they decided to offer an executive MBA in the early 2000s. And then several programs. They have also a program in change management. They have like they have several programs. And they decided to launch GMIM in early 2020. So, so that's why, for instance, ranking instead already number 2 was not easy because we had to take other criteria. And of course, I knew INSEAD pretty well from the MBA because basically between 1996 and 2020, I must have sent something like 300 students to the MBA program or EMBA program. So I knew how it works. So what Alexandra tells me is does not surprise me because the structure of the program that they have is very similar to that of the MBA, except that in the MBA, you have, if you want, 5 terms, like 5 periods, like in our program, but you don't have like a pre-MBA program. It does not exist. They have like 2 weeks before you start the MBA. And of course, you can study abroad. So if you start in Fontainebleau, you can spend up to 4 months in Singapore or up to 4 months in Wharton. Okay, and of course, it's a different program structure. When you study at INSEAD, the first 2 months it's a pre-MIM program and it is self-study. Then the first semester is in Fontainebleau and the second semester is in Singapore. So the program is designed differently. Okay. And the cohort stays together because if you take the concept of cohort, because I believe created by Harvard Business School, it's 80 students, and they have, from what I understand, 80 students. So the 80 students are together. Okay. So of course, so what I found great about INSEAD, and that's what I said to my students, say you should go there because, for instance, imagine that you go to HEC, but basically you be among the oldest. Okay. You see, Alexandra, if now you go to HEC. You were 23, 24, or are you 23?
Yeah, soon 24.
So 24, so you'll be among the oldest. Whereas, so you'll be with students, most of the students are between 20 and 22, if you go to, or 21, 23, okay? Because if you go to INSEAD, the average age on campus must be something like 27, 28, because most of the students are MBA students. Imagine that you're, for instance, a member of the consulting club, and you're going to say, I'm the only one with 23 or 24 because most of the guys are between 28 and 32. You understand? So, and I find that of course being with people who are older or more experienced is a great thing. So of course it's a great idea to study in a school where you're among the youngest. Of course, so you're not going to have when you're an MIM student, you're not going to have your MBA classes, your finance or whatever operational management classes with MBA students. But then they will be in your club, they will be in social activities, you eat in the same canteen. So there can be like older brothers helping you. And I find that it is a really good idea to go there because of the age difference and because of the fact that you basically you're from far the youngest. You see, Alexandra, you'll be from far one of the youngest on campus. Okay, so basically, as you know, being with more experienced people will give you a network, assurance. It's more interesting. Okay, for instance, I don't know. At your age, people they want to party. They want a guy who's 30 years old who came in with his wife. He didn't come to inside to party. He came to work, to learn, to meet interesting people. Of course, enjoy time. But so it will be the exchange will be much more profitable. So the way it works is that, and then at the end they offer you to have an internship.
Yeah,
at the end of the program if you want, but it is not compulsory. It is part of the program. Huh? Can you tell me about the internship?
Yeah, I mean, to validate your degree, you need to do a 4 to 6 month internship. But honestly, I think most of the people don't do internships, but rather apply to full-time jobs. It depends, because for instance, if you're an engineer and you want to transition into the business part, it might be more difficult to do so, depending on the geography. For instance, in France, definitely you're going to have to do an internship, but I mean, for us who have an undergraduate degree in economics, business, or whatever, I don't really think it makes sense to apply to internships. The process is the same for consulting. So instead of working for, half the pay, you apply to the business analyst position directly.
And they validate that, you understand? And they validate that as an internship, okay? So you're going to come back, I don't know, to INSEAD and say, okay, and of course, they prefer that you work then to the product that you work to having an internship. So, and they will validate. There's the same thing with HEC. HEC, you can do the program, the MBA you have to do it in 16 months, but the beginning of your work can be considered an internship. Okay. So tell me that now you're in contact with many MBA Center alumni. You also have many friends. Are you happy with your choice, or you can say, oh, I should have gone to St. Gallen, or maybe LBS would have been better? You think honestly, you're confident that it was the best possible choice for you?
Yeah, I mean, St. Gallen, especially for international students, it's a bad place. I'm sorry, don't go there. You're gonna regret this, because when you graduate, Switzerland does not give you visas. So you are the one in charge of you are the one responsible to find a visa sponsorship. And I'm going to be honest, no one wants to sponsor you, because there are plenty of European people who studied everywhere in their respective countries who can be hired. Why sponsor someone? So St. Gallen, I think for international students, it's very difficult. I mean, yes, it looks like it's cheap, but it's in the German part. So first of all, don't go there if you don't speak German, because employment-wise, it's well known maybe in the DACH region. So the German, Deutschland, Austria, and the German-speaking Switzerland, but otherwise people don't really know the university, to be honest. I think the ranking is misleading.
There are several things to say about St. Gallen. So basically, if you like skiing, if you like good life, it's a good place to be. Of course, there's a great quality of life. So St. Gallen is a city that is about 100 kilometers far from Zurich. So it's a village, because the city is small, but they are even in a remote part of the city. Okay, so you live in a village. Okay, you live even in a small village. Now, of course, the view is beautiful. If you like skiing, it's a great place, etc. If you want to enjoy life, yeah, beautiful. Alexandra explained with reasons that basically Switzerland is not part of the European Union. They have agreements that we call bilaterals. Means that they have agreements with France, with Germany, with Switzerland. So basically, me as a French-Belgian person, so if I go there, I'm lucky because my two countries have an agreement with Switzerland. Okay, So it means that I don't need, I need a work visa, but it will be given to me automatically because there is an agreement. But of course, Alexandra coming from Moldova, it will be, they don't have an agreement with Moldova. So they will, and of course, even though she's a very bright person, they are not going to bother because the student visa doesn't give you a work visa. So you have to understand that when you study in Europe, in the European community, or even former European community country, like UK, your student visa is automatically transformed into some system called a PBS into a work visa. So in France, it's 1 year, in Germany, it's 18 months, and in the UK, it is 2 years. So basically, when you go to see your potential employers, you're going to say, and of course, I see a lot of Indians and people from the Middle East, you don't bother because I can stay with you for 1 year. You give me a well-paid internship, okay? And if you like me, we will. You give me a contract, okay? And from the contract, I will get. So after 1 year, they can draw for your contract. If you have like a 3,000-year-old job, okay, with a full-time job, you automatically get the contract as well, okay? So basically, the problem that they have is that they don't want to give immediately a full-time job at a certain amount for someone that they hardly know, okay? But after 1 year, and if you do well, you get a full-time job and you'll be able to stay. Of course, UK is a much better country because you have 2 years, so you have even more time to qualify. So of course, don't be misled by ranking, okay? Misled, sorry. In the case of St. Gallen, so why is St. Gallen so well ranked? And you have to see that when you finish St. Gallen and if you stay in the region, you will automatically make something like $100,000, okay? Revenue. So of course, if you make $100,000, you imagine that it's a super high salary. That's why it's probably twice as much as HEC. So HEC must be maybe $60,000. So of course, the salary is so high, but at the same time, the salary is high in Zurich. But you have to see that Coca-Cola in Zurich costs 10 euros. Okay, so of course it's a high salary, but everything is expensive. A studio flat costs 3,000 euros. So it's a high salary, but what does it mean? When you have a high salary in a country where everything is expensive, okay? Basically in Geneva, we have a lot of people who work there, but what they do is they work in Geneva and they live in France. So basically, of course, that is good because they have the salary of a CEO and they spend their money in France, so they have very high purchasing power. But when you live in St. Gallen or in Zurich, you cannot leave Zurich because Zurich is, you cannot commute to Germany or to Austria because it's too far. Okay, so there is not big advantage. Now, of course, in terms of quality of life, of beauty, it's true that it's one of the most beautiful countries in the world. I suggest that you go there, but to work there, it's an issue. Now, of course, you have a lot of opportunities, but yes, if you decide to stay in St. Gallen, 1 year before you learn German and you try to be completely fluent. Okay.
Yeah.
So tell me now. So now, do you have questions? Yes, I see that there are questions. Okay. So Alexandra. So I don't know. There is Imanshu Rawat. Imanshu. So what questions have you got for us, Imanshu? So from India, of course. Imanshu, you have a question for us? Don't be shy. You know that when you're in your MIM, you have to talk. If you don't talk, you get bad grades. You know that.
You have to talk.
There's class participation, Imanshu. If you're looking for a top MBA or masters, talk. So Ariane is there, but Ariane, at the same time, you can talk, Ariane, because I know that you're far from being shy. So what questions have you got for Alexandra, Ariane? If you want to introduce yourself, Ariane wants to do an MBA, a Master in Finance at HEC. Ariane? Ariane? You have to unmute Ariane. I don't know. Ariane? No, he doesn't want to talk.
Let them type.
Anmol, I don't know.
Hi.
Ariane, hi. So can you talk a bit?
What is the age like we should do directly after undergraduate or wait? Well, the MIMs, there are people who are aged between, I don't know, 22nd, like French people, and there are, for instance, Indians a lot in the MIM class who are like 27. So the difference, the age difference is huge. I mean, there is no universal age. If you want, you do a gap year and you gather experience. If you want, you go directly.
So basically, experience with INSEAD. So I have students like Luca, who got accepted. Thanks to you, by the way, you sent it to us. Who is Luca Idmesh.
Yeah.
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 So he will do right after his bachelor. So he's 20. He will start when he's 21 or 22. And there are people like Amze that I have who has already worked for 2 years.
Yeah.
So and he did a 4-year degree at Imperial. So he's 24. Okay. So basically, we say that I have that are between 21 and 24. I think that Vincent, when he got it, he was 20 years old. Okay. So yeah, 20 or 20, close to 21, up to 24. So basically, it's okay, Alexandra, because when you compare to the MBA, the age range may be between 25 and 35. Okay. So basically, students are between 21 and 24, which is between 21 and 24. There's not much a big difference, but 25, 35, there's especially between 25 and 35, you grow up a lot.
At ESSEC, I saw students who were from 24, 25. They were.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. Do you think doing MIM is a good option compared to MBA? Like, shall we gain some work experience before doing postgrad? That's a good question. Well,
do we share the same idea?
Do I say? Okay, I'm going to comment and you're going to comment afterwards. If you have a bad job and you cannot find a good one, do VMIM, because I'm pursuing VMIM because the job opportunities that I can land with a BBA are not good enough. So in this case, doing the MIM would make sense. However, if you have access to a good job, you are satisfied with the job, there are learning opportunities within that job, of course, the MBA would make more sense, because post-MBA, you're definitely going to find very good employment opportunities because you have work experience. So I would say it really depends on the opportunities that you have after your undergrad. Hubert, what do you think?
Basically, I think that you're right. Okay. Now, of course, the advantage is that first of all, I would say that 3 things: an MIM is cheaper than an MBA. Okay.
Yeah.
Also, the other advantage is that you get the career boost right at a younger age. Okay. I would say that in Europe, in reality, we are MIM countries. Okay. You have to see that we call that an MIM, but everybody after the bachelor in Europe goes for a master. Okay. And of course, I was surprised when I went to the US to hear about this system where people get a bachelor, work, and study. It's of course for European and even for and for an Indian, it is unusual. And people usually in our countries, people study and then work the rest of their life. Okay, it's going to change. And of course, the people that I met at MBA Center starting like 25 years ago, who came to meet me for an MBA, were people who wanted to make a career change or were dissatisfied with their job, okay, let's put it that way, and they thought that the MBA will allow them to boost their career. Usually, they wanted to work in consulting, like the famous Ben, BCG, McKinsey, to boost their career. Many, by the way, have been able to do so, and they have been able to boost their career, which is of course impressive. It explains the popularity of the MBA, of course, of the best MBA programs. Okay, so basically, I would say that what Alexandra said is correct. Now, of course, you have to see that an MBA is expensive in that it's more expensive, tuitions are more expensive, opportunity cost, but you lose a lot because you already have a job. Okay,
yeah.
Usually you have also a wife who may have to stop. Okay, remember that I gave an example. It was one of my posts, and that the guy I talked about was very unhappy to see my post. I gave an example. He was, let's compare Carlos, and one was Carlos and the other one was Alberto. And I say, well, it's very simple. So Carlos is a better student than Alberto. He scored 700 on the GMAT. He went to the best school in Madrid, which is called CUNEF. And basically, but he works for Accenture in Madrid. Okay. And he's going to go for an MBA next year. His wife will have to quit her job. So it means for 1 year and a half, probably they will get no income. Okay, so imagine the cost of the MBA the price for a couple of having no income for 1 year and a half, of quitting your job. Okay, you imagine how much it costs when you settle in a country and you have to. Alexandra, she's losing nothing. She lives with her parents. She's going to take a flat. But imagine that Alexandra has a flat in Moscow that she has to sublet to get a flat in Amsterdam, in Fontainebleau. It's not the same cost. You understand? Because you're already established in a country. Alexandra, she will quit her parents' home, so there's no cost. And she has no salary. Okay.
Yeah.
So the guy knows that he's quitting his home, he's quitting his salary. His wife has to come with him. He's going to spend 120,000 euros for an MBA.
Yeah.
And basically, what was strange is that the two guys, they are 28 years old. And I say, Alberto decided to do the MIM at LBS when he was 21 years old. After he worked for Deloitte Monitor, okay, and now he's been hired by Oliver Wyman, and he makes so since he did when he was young, he has no debt because his parents pay for it. Because of course, when he was 21, impossible to pay for a master's, so he has no debt. And now he's making $10,000 a month because he works for Oliver Wyman, a consulting company in Dubai. And then the guy called me, said, "It's insulting what you said about me. It's incredible. You're such a bad guy. How can you say something that about me?" But I said, "Look, Alberto, 10,000 a month, you zero. In 1 year, Alberto, 12,000 euros a month. You 3,000 because you want to go back to Spain and debts." So I said, "Sorry, Alberto, when he's 35, will own a flat in Madrid at €500,000 flat with his bonus, etc. And you just have finished to pay for your loan, okay? And the guy will make 5 times what you make." So the guy was not happy at attaining that, but you see, you take Alberto Carlos, okay, and
Yeah.
you see the difference because basically Alberto decided to make a lot of money when he was 22 to 23. So when he's 30, he has already saved quite a lot, okay, and he has no debt and he spends less. So of course, an MBA, an MIM makes more sense. Can you imagine when you're 20, when you're 28, you have to quit your job, you have to move to another country, you will make no money, you finish when you're 30, you have debts. It's not the same as having worked already when you're 30 for something like 8 years with a high salary, okay?
Yeah, unless it's sponsored by McKinsey, the MBA.
Yes, unless it's sponsored by McKinsey, that's why some do. But if it's sponsored by McKinsey, you have to work with them, and they sponsor it after 3 years of work with them.
Okay.
Okay, and that's what they do. We call that deferred MBA. So the top business school, Harvard, Wharton, Stanford, etc., MIT, Columbia, will offer you deferred MBA. Okay, so yes, so Ariane, yes, he was right. Average MBA tuition 75 per year. So you have to see, Ariane, that if you add to that living expenses, and you see, Ariane, there's also a story. Okay, me being slightly older than you, when you're 22, you don't spend as much than when you're 30. You agree? You understand? Because when you have a job, when you are making like 3,000 a month, you're used to going to restaurant, to buying nice clothes, etc. When you're fresh out of school, you don't have this type of demands in life. You know you can go to the canteen, you wear jeans, so you have a different lifestyle, believe me. And especially if you're married, it's even worse. Okay.
Yeah.
Then is MSc Finance better than MBA? So what do you think?
Wait, we missed. Let's take all the questions. So, do colleges provide scholarships to Indian students? There are plenty of scholarships available to all different kinds of students. There is the AFL scholarship. There are academic excellence, I don't know, diversity, financial need scholarships. So it's really about doing the research and applying. I would say apply and figure out the financing part afterwards, because there are plenty of opportunities available, and also research.
Okay, she's right. So basically, yes, you have two types of scholarships. By the way, Alexandra will tell us, because she's the only one that I know who got these two types of scholarships. So basically, you have scholarships given by the school and scholarship given by outside organizations. So can you tell us how you have done in your case, Alexandra?
Yeah, so the school gave me a diversity scholarship, and this year I learned accidentally about the French government scholarship, which is not the same as the AFL scholarship. And you need to apply to I mean, the country you have a nationality from, you know. and I just applied. I mean, it's super straightforward. You just send your grades, you send a recommendation letter, a motivational letter, then you have an interview, and then they nominate you, and they pay a monthly stipend and up to 5,000 euros of tuition fees.
So you see, you get a sort of salary given by the French government, plus they give you 5,000 euros plus scholarship. So at the end, it divided the cost of the masters by 2. Huh? That's why when I fight with my Indian students, I say learn French, etc. If you apply for this type of scholarship, if you speak French, and if you're a good student and you speak French, it will already help a lot. You understand? Of course, Alexandra, she had also studied in France. So when I say to Ariane, to my students, learn French or learn Spanish if you want to go to Spain, because they would appreciate, and you can get some type of scholarship. So basically, you can make $20,000. Huh? Okay. So and plus, speaking a second European language can only help you when you look for a job, because whatever. But I spend every time I say to my Indian students, learn a second language, learn a second language. So about the MSc, what do you think about the MSc versus MBA or MIM? What do you think? So specialized degree against general management degree. What do you think, Alexandra?
Well, yeah, I was reading, there were other questions, but we will come back. Well, it depends on what you want to do. You want to work in finance, it makes sense to make an MSc in finance. You want to work, I don't know, in tech, you want to work in consulting, you want to work in corporate finance, you do an MIM. I mean, I'm not going to do an MSc in finance if I want to work, for instance, in marketing. You see what I mean? It depends on your career plans. When you enter a degree, you gotta have a career plan. And depending on your career plan, you're going to select the degree. It's not the other way around.
So basically what I've noticed is that my MIM students, they want to go either in consulting or general management position in a company, or entrepreneurship. Okay, and the MIF, it's always because they want to work in finance. Okay, and Julie as M&A analyst. The other questions, Alexandra?
I saw some questions here. GRE or GMAT, what according to you should sit for before applying for MIM, as many colleges are accepting GRE as well as GMAT, but in case of MBA, GMAT is widely accepted, so can you guide through this? Okay, the only thing that I can say, because I also spoke to other people, is that, for instance, if you want to work in consulting, they value much more the GMAT, because the GRE apparently is easier to pass because it's not computer adaptive. So I would say, I mean, it's easier to take the GRE, but if you really want to work, for instance, in consulting, go for the GMAT. What do you think?
Yeah. So basically, yes, for the MBA itself. So of course, Alexandra is right. So she has a long-term vision. Okay, but yes, you're right. And if you get a GMAT, try to get a 700 if you want to work in consulting. So basically, what I would say is that yes, you can take both. Okay. There's even an advantage in taking the GRE. I'm going to tell you why. First, it's easier. Second of all, the score that you do at home is the score that you do the day of the test, which is not the case for the GMAT because of the adaptivity, probably, which includes a lot of uncertainty. And finally, there's another thing is that schools publish their GMAT score, which makes that they have to take people with high GMATs, but they don't publish their GRE score. So it means that if there's someone that they like was a low GRE, but they like the person, they will say, okay, we can take him. We will not say that his score, I don't know, 310, which is not super high, and we can take him. So of course there are lots of advantages in taking the GRE. Now imagine that after that you want to work in consulting. I would suggest that you spend your summer improving your GMAT to get the best possible GMAT. So that's basically what I would approve. Of course, the best thing is to do that, Ariane, get a 750 immediately, and then you're saved, or you take it and you take it. Okay, but the GRE is definitely for many reasons a better tool to get in, and there are even other things.
Yeah, I know German language, but I can go for top France university. Of course, you can go for top France university, but if you want to work in France, rule of thumb would be to learn French, because your life is going to be 10 times easier. But if you do ESSEC or HSC, you're not going to have problems to find a job in Germany, I think.
Yes, of course. So, so of course, when you study at ESSEC or ESCP, whatever, the language of study will be English. Of course, it's a good thing that you speak German, because after your studies, you can work in Germany. You have to see that the German market is more dynamic than the French market. So it's easier to find a job there. So of course, if you speak German, go for it. That's why now the German schools are so successful. We have many of our students applying for ESMT, Mannheim, WHU, Köln University. So of course, they go there. Okay. Manav Malik. Okay. I know his work experience preferred to the university. What about this one?
Is work experience preferred by university? I mean, work experience, I think, is around 20% work/internship experience, because for MIM, you don't need work experience, but it's around 20% of your application file overall, because this is going to help you land other internships. I mean, if you have zero work experience, zero endeavors, zero volunteering, it's going to be very tough to find your first internship. So, I mean, you can be accepted without work experience, but I'm going to be honest, you're going to struggle. I've been there as well, so.
So yes, it's something. First of all, alors, it's better when you get to get a program, because of course, if you have work experience first, you can have a professional recommendation, and they want to see yes, what you have been able to achieve at work. And so on and so forth. Of course, after the masters, if you have no work experience, it's an issue. So you see, Alexandra, we have a lot of problems with our students from Italy. A lot of them have no work experience. Don't ask me why. Probably because in Italy they don't like interns and so on and so forth. A lot of students, a bit like in Belgium, they usually have to retake some exams, so they take the summer to retake their exams, because it's very rare that you get your all your exams during the June exam, so they have to retake some in September. And since they had bad experience with all that, the Italian companies don't take interns, so it's an issue. So we advise our Italian students to take a year off between the bachelor and the masters to gain experience. It's definitely a good idea. Okay.
Okay, masters in finance or MBA finance, which should be preferred? Hubert, answer please, because.
Alors, the point is that this question is really for Indians. Okay, because I'm going to tell you something. In Europe or in the US, it does not exist MBA in finance. Okay, you have MBA with majors in finance. Okay, but I know that in India, some programs are not allowed to be called masters, so they call themselves MBA because you don't have any. There is no okay, the trademark MBA is not protected. Okay, so basically you say a master in finance is an MBA. Is the same thing, unless I'm wrong. But it's the same thing, except that they don't want to call themselves masters in reality. Okay, and in Europe, in the US, if you call it a master in finance in Europe, in the US, it's because you're a super bad school. Okay, because the state did not allow you to be called a master. Okay, so they call them MBA because MBA is not protected. If tomorrow I open a school, I can offer an MBA in whatever. Nobody will care because it's not protected by the state or the. I have the feeling that in India it's somehow the same. So when they call MBA in finance, in reality, are masters in finance that are not allowed to call themselves MBAs. Tell me if I'm wrong, Ariane, because India is your country, so I may be wrong on that. But no, don't go for MBA in finance. You do either master in finance or you do an MBA. Okay, with a concentration in.
No.
Oh yes, or no, you can do an MBA, but with a concentration in finance. For instance, when you study at INSEAD, you have the first 2 periods, okay, that is general management, and then you have P3, P4, P5 in the MBA, and then you specialize in finance. You're going to take corporate finance, M&A, company evaluation, whatever. Okay.
MIM
with a specialization in finance. Okay. Because by the way, what you have to see,
it depends. If you want to work in market finance, MIM is useless. I mean, if you want to work in trading, no.
Yeah, you have to do quantitative finance. And even, by the way, even some MIF are useless. Huh? I don't know the MIF of the MFA of LBS will not lead you as a trader. Huh? Okay, forget about it. It's M&A analyst, but you need to do more like anyway. If you want to work in finance in financial markets, they are looking for engineers. and we have studied something like quantitative finance, the MIF is not even specialized enough. Huh? Last question, because you know Alexandra has other things to do. Last questions. I don't know. Do you want to ask a question? I don't know. I don't know. One of the participants. We have quite a lot. No, I
What
don't
is
know.
the average duration of MBA? Well, you have 1-year MBAs and you have 2-year MBAs, depending on the country. Yeah.
No. You see, so in Europe, for instance, so in the US, most of the programs are 2-year programs, except that you have Pittsburgh, USC Marshall, that are 1-year programs. In Europe, most of the programs are 1-year programs because of INSEAD. INSEAD is the most successful MBA in Europe, and they after that they copy them. By the way, there's a funny story. When I started MBA Center, HEC had a 16-month program. And every time I was meeting them, I say, why do you have 16 months program? And INSEAD has 1-year program. That's one of the big advantages that they have over you. And they say, no, it's better to be 16 months, blah, 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 blah. And now the HEC program is a 1-year program. Okay, so basically INSEAD is the most successful MBA in Europe, and they have imposed the 1-year program. Now there's a counterexample, IEC and LBS. LBS is a 2-year program, IEC 19 months. So they have not followed INSEAD because it's there are strong schools. IEC is super successful, LBS is a super successful school, so they can impose their model. They are not losing market share by being 2 years, but LBS is LBS, IEC is IEC, and it's not everybody with the same quality and excellence in education as LBS and IEC. Okay, are we done with that? So thank you very much. So I've seen that many of you are still not registered with MBA Center. So don't forget that next, on the 26th, we'll organize a top MIM event with HEC, with ESSEC, with SEM, with Sciences Po, with ESAD, with IAC, with BAU, with LBS, with IE, with Imperial College. It's only for our students, of course. Or students that we know, okay? Of course, because why we do that? Because we want to make sure that the students that we introduce to schools are good students, and not just people who never apply. We want that 100% of the students who go for interviews apply for programs. They will not be as lucky as the others, but we'll see. Is it okay for you? So stay with us. Of course, Manav, you are very talkative, Metri as well. Every Saturday we have a session. I don't know, next Saturday, I don't know who will come. And thank you again, Alexandra.
Take advantage of these opportunities, because talking to the admissions committee can help. I spoke to student ambassadors who whistleblowed this information.
What do you mean?
Talking to admissions committee and even talking to student ambassadors can shortlist your application, because they can basically say that you are a good candidate.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, that's something that you have to do. Yes, of course. You have to show your motivation. Okay. But I will not give his name. But there's a student here, for instance, who I have students, for instance, from India, who even the year before applying, or even 2 years before applying, go for summer schools organized by the school. If you're motivated, you have to be fully motivated. So you can be contacting alumni, contacting current students, contacting the community, attending summer schools. Everything is important. You have to show your motivation. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Alexandra.